Flight 227 was halfway through its ascent when the seatbelt light dimmed and the cabin slowly relaxed. Passengers shuffled for blankets, flight attendants wheeled carts, and a soft hum filled the pressurized air. In seat 12F, near the window, sat a quiet man in his late 30s, traveling with a little girl who clutched a small stuffed bear to her chest. His name was Daniel Cole. To most of the passengers around him, he looked like any other tired single father, the kind who carried invisible weight behind calm eyes. His daughter, Emma, had dozed off against his shoulder. The crew had greeted him politely but casually, like every other passenger. No one on that plane knew that the man in seat 12F carried a history that would make even elite pilots stand tall. If you believe in kindness, second chances, and moments that reveal a person's true worth, then like, comment, share, and subscribe to The Gentle Truth. Your support helps more emotional stories reach people who need them. Daniel wasn't always the quiet man in 12F. Years ago, he had been known by a name whispered with reverence through the halls of air bases, Falcon 1. He had flown combat missions that others refused, saved lives mid-air, and pulled entire squadrons home through chaos. But after his wife died unexpectedly, leaving him to raise Emma alone, Daniel made a decision. He retired quietly from active duty, walked away from medals and ceremonies, and dedicated himself to being the father Emma needed. To the world, he was just another man with a suitcase. To Emma, he was home. The flight that day wasn't extraordinary at first. It was a routine domestic trip, blue skies ahead, children laughing a few rows back. But as the plane reached cruising altitude, a sudden, sharp voice came through the cockpit intercom. A security issue had arisen in restricted airspace. Air traffic controllers redirected the flight path urgently. Within minutes, the captain announced that military aircraft were approaching to escort them through controlled airspace due to an unexpected clearance complication. Nervous murmurs filled the cabin as two F-22 Raptors appeared outside the windows, gleaming in the sunlight. Some passengers gasped in awe, others whispered anxiously. Emma's small hand reached for Daniel's. He simply gave her a reassuring nod. Inside the cockpit, the flight crew received an unusual request from the military channel, a call to verify if Falcon 1 was on board. Confused, the captain relayed the question to the lead flight attendant, who slowly walked through the cabin, checking the manifest. When she reached seat 12F and read the name, her eyes widened. She turned to Daniel, unsure, and quietly asked if he had ever served. Daniel nodded once humbly. The attendant hurried back, whispering something to the captain. Seconds later, the radio crackled in the cockpit with a voice that made the hairs on the pilot's arms stand up. "Falcon 1, this is Eagle Lead. Is it really you?" The captain asked Daniel if he'd be willing to respond through the flight radio. He hesitated. It had been years since he used that voice. The voice of leadership, of command, of someone who had once guided Steel Wings through danger. But with Emma asleep at his side, he stood up slowly, walked to the cockpit, and spoke the simple call sign he once owned with pride. The moment his voice hit the channel, both F-22 pilots outside the plane straightened their wings in perfect formation. Inside their helmets, eyes widened with recognition. Falcon 1 wasn't just a name. It was legend. As the message rippled through the secure frequencies, something extraordinary happened. The F-22s shifted position in a precise aerial salute, a maneuver used only to honor commanding heroes. Passengers on the right side of the plane watched in awe as the two jets tilted their wings in unison toward the commercial aircraft. The captain explained over the intercom, his voice emotional, that they had a very special passenger on board. For the first time since his retirement, Daniel wasn't invisible. He was seen, not for his sorrow, but for his legacy. But behind the honor lay years of quiet struggle. After his wife passed, Daniel had felt completely unprepared to raise a little girl alone. The man who once flew at Mach speeds struggled to pack school lunches, fix hair ribbons, and be both mother and father. He had never wanted recognition. He only wanted to protect Emma. Yet that day, as hundreds of eyes turned toward him in quiet respect, he realized something important. His story wasn't over. He wasn't just a hero of the skies. He was the hero his daughter saw every day. The flight landed safely under the escort of the Raptors. As passengers disembarked, whispers of, "Did you see the jets?" and "Who was he?" filled the terminal. The two F-22 pilots who had escorted the flight requested to meet Daniel at the gate. When they saw him, they stood at attention, their boots clicking against the floor, and saluted him sharply. It wasn't for the passengers or the cameras. It was for the man whose leadership had once saved their brothers. Daniel, humbled, returned the salute softly, Emma holding his hand the entire time, eyes wide. Realizing her father wasn't just Dad, he was someone the sky itself respected. Later, as he sat by the terminal window waiting for their connection, Daniel held Emma close. She asked him why the pilots saluted him. He thought for a moment and simply said, "Because we all look after each other up there." She smiled sleepily against his shoulder. In that moment, Daniel felt something he hadn't felt in years. Not grief, not duty, but peace. His past and present had finally met. Not in a medal ceremony, but in seat 12F, beside the little girl who was his entire world. If this story touched your heart, please like, share, and subscribe to The Gentle Truth. Special request: comment below which part of the story moved you the most. Your words help keep these emotional stories alive and inspire others.